sent his friend to tell me, like, number 7 says he wants to tap that before he moves. Hi there, and welcome back to another video. Hi, if you're new here, my name is Myra, and if you're a returning viewer, hi, welcome back. So I have part 2 of my little story time on my first relationship / boyfriend. So we know you came here for the chisme, right? So if you haven't seen my previous video, I'll go ahead and link it up for you at the top so you can check that out before you watch this video. So go click on that one, and then when you're done, come back for this one, because this is a continuation of that story. So I left off at the point where summer ended and we were going into school. I was going into 8th grade. Number 7, who was the boy, he started 7th grade at my junior high school. So we were going to the same school. And then number 10, who was his ex-girlfriend by this time, was a freshman, and she was going to the high school that my brother and our friend number 5 were going to. So our schools were like right there. And when school started, we would still hang out outside. We just, I would, get home, do my homework, and then I'd go hang out outside with my friends. So I was always very responsible about my homework. I would go hang out with my friends outside, and then I remember like a few months later, maybe not that long after, I was in the locker rooms at school with one of my friends during PE, and she was telling me about a boyfriend she had. And I was like,
oh girl, I didn't know you had a boyfriend.
Like, I was asking her about him, right? And she started telling me about him. And it was none other than number 7. She told me his name, and I was like,
I know him.
She was like, really? And I was like,
yeah, he's my neighbor. I was also his girlfriend for like a few days.
Before like school started, and she was like, oh, awkward. But I was like, whatever, like, I don't care. And so he was dating her. She was also an 8th grader. She was also a little bit more like boy experienced, And then I remember, I don't know if she told him or I told him, like, oh, I know I think she might have told him, like, oh, like, I'm friends with Myra, like, blah, blah, blah. And I remember he kind of was like, I don't know, you were friends with her? And I was like, yeah, I am. And then I think after her, he was very much like would bounce from relationship to relationship. So after her, he started going out with another girl that I knew. I don't remember who it was, honestly, but I remember he just kind of went right and left through a lot of my friends, which they didn't know I knew him or anything. There was one girl, though, I remember. I was really good friends with her. I was with her in like choir, musical theater. She was always a really good friend. And I remember he was like I think we were practicing or something outside for musical theater for like a show or something. And he came by and he passed by or something. And I don't know if he said hi to us or something. And I kind of looked at her like, oh, I didn't know you know him. And she was like, I don't know, you know him. I was like, yeah, like he's one of my neighbors. And then she kind of was telling me how like he would flirt with her and he would ask her out, and she kind of liked him. And I was like, okay, all right. And then I remember he would still kind of like flirt with me though when we were like back home, like hanging out with our friends. He would send either his little brother or one of his friends to come say things to me. And I was just kind of like, whatever, like I didn't believe him, because I was like, all right, you literally have girlfriends left and right, so I don't believe that you actually like me or you're being taking me seriously. And at this point, I didn't even like him either. I had a bunch of other crushes. So pretty much he kept having girlfriends, and oh my goodness, I remember like there was times where I would see his whole entire neck and everything, chest full of hickeys, and I remember just thinking like, ew, right? Like, that's gross. You don't gotta be over here advertising what you're doing, especially at 13 years old, but whatever. He would literally kind of tell us what he was doing with these girls, and I'm like, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. And then I remember like around his birthday, I wanted to make him cupcakes because a part of me still low-key had a crush on him, especially as I kind of got to know him a little bit. But I think it was just more like I just spent time with him, but I don't know, he just wasn't my type. Still, I'm not that kind of girl that likes that kind of type of guy. So I remember me and my friend made him cupcakes. We took him to school for his birthday. And I remember he gave me a hug and it was so awkward. And his friends were there and they were kind of making fun of him. And I remember just being so awkward and I was like, I shouldn't have done this. I shouldn't have made this, whatever. Whatever, he ate them. And then I remember he was gonna go to the movies for I think his birthday or something. And he asked me if I wanted to go with him, like on a date. And I remember I was like, do I go or do I not? I part of me wanted to go. So I remember I told my parents when we were like having dinner, we were having lunch or something. My parents were like, no, we don't like him for you. And they also were like, you know, if you really, really want to go, because I was like, I want to go so bad. Please let me go. Please let me go. And they were like, okay, well, we're going to have to like chaperone. Like, you're not going by yourself. And I remember I was like, what? Can't you just trust me? But my parents at this point had never let me go anywhere by myself, especially not with a guy. And I'm sure, obviously, my parents knew what kind of guy he was, right? So they were just trying to protect me. So I love my parents so much for that. And then they said no. So I was like, okay, and I remember I was so mad that I didn't get to go to the movies with him. So I told him, like, I can't go. What do you think he did? He took another girl. That was such a good way for him to show me that he liked me, right? Anyways, at this point, I was just kind of like, whatever. Like, I gave up on it. Like, it was like my crush would kind of resurface here and there, and then it'd go away. At the end of the school year, he was going to move away to, like, a different city. And then I remember he sent his friend to tell me, like, oh, like, number 7 says he wants to tap that before he moves. And I remember I was like, I don't know what that means, but I just got the gross connotation of it, and I was like, no. And then I just left. And I remember, like, I didn't know if I Googled it or I asked my friend, like, what does that mean? And then she told me, I was like, ew, no. Like, I never kissed this guy, never held his hand, nothing. And then I remember also, like, after he moved, like, years later, I think this was, like, 2019. I remember I was getting my hair dyed. I was with my husband at the time at this point. And I remember I was walking from where I parked to the salon and some guy came skateboarding next to me. It was this guy. And he literally gets off his skateboard and he's like, hey, Myra, do you remember me? And I remember I looked at him and I was like, I do remember you. You look exactly the same. Ew. And I just kept it short. I was like, yeah. And kind of like a go away. Like, I don't want to talk to you. I'm busy. And I kept walking and he kept following me and he was like asking me like, oh, how are you? Like this and this and that. And I was like, good. Like, I gotta go. I have an appointment. And then I left it at that and left. I was just like, that was so weird. Like, out of all people I could have ran into, it had to be him. Like, what? But then I got to my hair appointment, whatever. Everything was good. And then I remember I was so scared. I was gonna run into him like when I got back out. I wasn't sure if he was waiting for me because it was just like a consultation, so it was quick. And I remember I literally like walked as fast as I could to my car because I did not want to see him again. And it was so funny because I had totally forgotten like any of this had happened until I had seen him that day. And I was like, oh yeah, I remember that happened. I don't know if other people have stories like this from their first relationship, but it's just so weird. It wasn't even, like I said, really a relationship. But yeah, hopefully anybody out there can connect with this. Let me know because, yeah, I don't know. I feel like I've always been one that hasn't had experiences, like your typical experiences. My things have been all weird. But at the same time, I think it just goes to show, like, what kind of person I was at the time. And it also gives you kind of a glimpse of, you know, what my life has been. So, you know, I do want to do more story times in the future. So hopefully you enjoyed this story about my first relationship. I knew it had to be 2 parts. I just didn't want to make it super, super long. Here is a little life lesson to you. If you're on the younger side or just in general, don't say yes to somebody that asks you to be their girlfriend when you don't know them. But yeah, I think for me, more than anything, reflecting back on this story, it's just one, like, my parents were really looking out for me by not really letting me go with this guy, you know, go out with this guy, because looking back, like, he's not the kind of guy that I would want my daughter with at all. So I thank my parents for being super, super involved and for being, you know, parents, by not letting me. Not that I would have done anything with this guy, anyways, especially not at 12. Well, at some point I was 13, but that was not on my mind. I feel so bad for 12-year-old Myra because she needed to do a better job at picking friends, picking boys she liked. She was so, so innocent, so, so nice. She really saw the best in everybody, and I wish I could give her a hug. But, you know, hopefully by having these experiences, I'm able to, you know, share with my daughter and help her learn things. Or maybe just let her have a laugh at them because I know I am. Anyways, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share, hit the notification bell if you want to keep seeing more videos from me. Let me know if story times are something you're interested in because I will keep doing them. I will do them even if nobody watches them because I just think it's so funny to like film them and then go back and like watch it when I'm editing, because sometimes I feel like I black out when I'm talking about experiences, so it's kind of funny. But anyways, that is it for today's video. Thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.